I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. Welcome back to Harry Potter's Let's Play, WaterparkRanger and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That's what we're calling this game now. I actually like it better that way. Yeah, it's Ron, Hermione, and WaterparkRanger. Who's Harry Potter? I've never heard of him. Is he the guy LPing this? Yeah, he's got a really weird voice. So the deal with this is we've got to push this ice block right over here so we can climb up and solve a puzzle thingy. Yeah, I know. Surprising, right? More puzzles after we solved a puzzle. So the annoying thing is that, like, every time you step on that switch, it shows that giant, like, ice block descend again and again, over and over again. I guess it's kind of nice that they did that, otherwise it might be pretty easy to miss. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of weighing this down, like, immediately, I want to go over, and push this block from the side so that I can go around and get those two treasure chests. I'd also imagine that this has to be somewhat of an annoying challenge to do, because as a wizard, you're probably not used to getting your hands dirty, and this challenge chamber has to have you freezing your ass off, not to mention the fact that you continually have to be pushing these things with your bare hands. You don't even get gloves. Like, Lupin really demands, like, a practical, tactical approach to the dark arts. He's like, well, unlike the Cruciatus Curse, these dungeons are meant to be a lot more challenging for your mind as well as your body. Physically painful in every sense of the word. So we have lots of, beans, which are nice. It means I'd have to do a little bit less grinding. Yeah, 6 beans is a lot for this game. Trust me, it is. I'm not exactly sure of how much time I've spent grinding precisely off-screen, but it's not a pretty number, let me tell you that. I think that on the 4th floor you can get about roughly, with every go, and that counts like checking all the bookshelves in the first room, all the bookshelves in the next room's hallway, and all the jars, you can get about 50 beans, like roughly, doing that in one go. The fact that I needed like a couple hundred means I had to do that at least 4 times, if not more. So it's pretty irritating process. Chamber of Secrets definitely had a more effective way to grind for beans. The fortunate thing about this game is that there are no Neville minigames. Neville minigames are the worst thing about Chamber of Secrets and kind of make me hate Chamber of Secrets and never want to see it again. So fortunately, they don't have that in this game, and I think that's one of the reasons that it's better than Chamber of Secrets. Roughly, I'd say that if we were to disregard the Neville minigames, they both have their own strengths and weaknesses, but I would like Chamber of Secrets more. But if I count the Neville minigames, then Prisoner of Azkaban is just automatically the better game. This card here is a real classic, Morgan Le Fay, the first of the 5 witch cards that we could get. I know Morgan Le Fay was in the previous game. She's like in every Harry Potter game that you can collect cards in. Just like one of the most standard witches and wizards of the time. Sort of like Merlin. Not sure when we're going to get Merlin, definitely later on. Morgan Le Fay is so much easier to get in this game. So there's the Glacius spellbook. There's no real trick to retrieving it, you just kind of jump down. Don't worry, you don't fight any gargoyles. I know the gargoyles were a big thing in Chamber of Secrets, but they actually switch it up with the enemies you fight in dungeons in this game. So, learning knowledge the only way witches and wizards know how? Oh, I thought it was going to turn into a spark and then smash right into them. That's usually what happens, but not this time, I guess. So what just happened? Did we get teleported? No, the dungeon's nature actually changed suddenly from ice to fire. Yeah, that's just how it works. So we're surrounded by magma. Fortunately, Glacius is literally ice that is so cold that it just freezes the magma. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. And yet, when people get hit with it, all they turn is, like, purple. And I mean, turning purple sounds pretty severe, but they're fine afterwards. Like, they recover pretty quickly. It's pretty comical. And yet, it freezes magma. So we have this new enemy here that's not in the Folio Bruti. I guess because it's not really a beast at all. It's just an enchanted torch that Lupin probably possessed in order to make life difficult for us. Really, they're kind of like standard issue, like, dungeon hell torches. They're really obnoxious. They appear throughout the game in the dungeons. I know there's at least one other dungeon where they appear in, if not more. Now, what's this card? It's the second of the 5 witch cards. This one's Ignatia Wildsmith. I think that actually might be the woman who invented flue powder. I almost said flea powder. Nicely done. These torches used to give me so much more trouble. They do attack and they're obnoxious when they do hit you, because they, like, They do a bit more damage than they appear. That's at least how I remember them. And I'd rather not have to relive the experience. Let's just simply freeze them and kill them. I'm starting to think that they actually might not be possible to kill if they're floating over the magma, because then they won't be able to fall down to the ground where you can kill them. I doubt that they'd just let them fall into the magma and burn them up, because that would make just too much sense, and that would be way too convenient. Now all of those random torches and stuff from before are lit up, so it was kind of a clue that this dungeon would eventually change in theme. I like the fact that it's fire and ice. Fire and ice theme levels are always pretty cool in my opinion. Now we have what looks like a real mind-boggler of a puzzle, but it's not really. What do we got here? Is it a wizard card, or is it actually the Folio Bruti page? It's the 7th out of 16. This one is the Salamander. The Salamander was that enemy that Ron found earlier in the last episode. That was blue and that he killed really easily. But that was because the dungeon was cold. Now that it's heated up, the Salamanders are going to be harder to defeat. They won't simply die if you hit them with Flipendo. Nor will they die if you keep hitting them with Flipendo. Just wait till we get to the fight, and then you'll see how it's done. Now, this is a really weird puzzle, because I think there's a legit way of doing it, but for some reason, it's glitched on me. And now, like, the only way I can solve it seems to be by pushing it just kind of around the grid of the puzzle. Like, bypassing the puzzle entirely, which defeats the purpose of this room, but I'm not really sure what they were trying to accomplish with this, honestly. Just showing that maybe sometimes the best way to proceed is to cheat. The lessons they teach you in this game are really strange. Probably all due to glitches. Because I'm pretty sure that there was a legit way of us solving that, but that's not what happened there. Yeah, there was some program refining. There's some refined programming that this game needed. They didn't do the program! So you gotta just push this to, like, the far side of the puzzle. Seems like the only way I can tell you how to complete it is by bootlegging it like I am right now, and just, like, bypassing what looks like an intricate sliding ice puzzle, and kind of pushing it around the rim of the puzzle instead, because that's the only way to get it to this wall switch that Hermione needs to climb up to. Because no, she can't simply jump and then, like, press it with her hand. She has to climb up to it, because Harry's the only one with the ability to jump. It's really kind of pathetic how little of an ability Ron and Hermione have to jump. Like, it's a very basic function. They should be able to do it to some extent. But no, they can't at all. Hermione's also really fussy about jumping backwards off of things. Now, I know that sounds like a legitimate complaint, for a real person maybe, but as a video game character, you just gotta go where the player tells you. But Hermione, it seems, is much more fussy than Harry and Ron about, like, holding down the R button and then jumping backwards with A. Like, she doesn't do it very far at all. I've had more luck with the others. So that was a chocolate frog that we ran into. You actually don't have to hit chocolate frogs with Flipendo in this game in order to collect them. We have, actually, magma here that we need to freeze. It actually might be hot air now that I'm looking at it, because it doesn't look like magma. Oh, there's the magma, and we just died. Fortunately, Hermione just shrugged off the magma like it was nothing. Then again, I guess Lupin would get in trouble if he was burning people to a crisp in his challenge chamber. Actually, I'm not even sure if they're called challenge chambers in this game. They might just be called challenges, which is really odd. Anyway, there's our shield. And, unfortunately, so are salamanders. 3 of them, as well as salamander spawn points. And no, salamander spawn points don't get their own entry in the Folio Bruti. They just kind of exist as things that spawn more salamanders. At least, I'm pretty sure they're salamander spawn points. That's what they appear to look like, so what I'm going to do is take out those spawn points first, and then the salamanders. Harry and Ron are just going to kind of be completely hapless and take damage, unfortunately, because they don't have Glacius, and only Hermione can learn Glacius. Like, the only spells that are shared between the 3 of them are Flipendo and Expelliarmus. Besides that, everyone has their own unique spells. Ron has probably the least. There's only 1 spell that I know Ron gets. Hermione definitely gets the most, and Harry just gets, like, a balanced amount, because he's Harry Potter, and he's not an idiot like Ron, but not a genius like Hermione. I feel like that's the simple way of what they were trying to explain with their characters. Ron is supposed to be more, like, crafty, because he can use items and search things. Yeah, craftiness. I don't buy that. You see, when you've got a world of wizards, unless you're, like, an actual squib, someone who can't use magic, not being able to use any magic in it just because a game designer tells you you can't is kind of a big design no-no. Doesn't really make sense. And yes, I realize the irony about talking about sense in a game where you just wave a magic wand and everything gets solved. Usually. Everything gets solved if the lock-on system works, which it usually doesn't. Never mind, negate everything I just said. So that was the dungeon, folks. The salamanders at the end, that's how you deal with them. So if we ever meet them again, we know how to just put out the fire and then hit them with Flipendo. Very simple. Of course there's more. Of course there'd be a boss. So instead of gargoyles, actually like this, they give you unique enemies for each dungeon. And Ron is like, oh, this is just brilliant. For once I agree with him. Glad to see something else other than a gargoyle. This thing, I'm not sure if it has a name. It's kind of like a fire golem made out of all those cauldrons you pushed earlier. Now, we get to get our proper revenge on that central cauldron for being so difficult and impossible to pick off earlier and place on that switch. So the deal with this thing is Harry and Ron, once again, since they don't have any useful spells besides Flipendo, are just going to keep shooting at it, which will do nothing. You just have to use Hermione and avoid its attacks. After it opens that central furnace, target it, and shoot Glacius inside. After it does that, after you do that, it's going to charge up a fire blast, so stand back. Now it just shoots one of its arms at you, so you got to freeze the arm with Glacius. And, well, I guess I have to stand back to get the right angle at it. And once it's frozen and it's cold, and it cools down, Flipendoing it multiple times will defeat it and damage the boss. So that's the basic pattern. We've defeated one of its limbs, now we need to get the other hand. The sad thing about this boss, that Captain Candybeard actually noted during one of our commentary, well, when I was recording this initially, is that this is the kind of boss that only gets weaker the more you fight it, which is kind of a sad fact. He can only swing at us with one hand, which, I mean, is kind of more than enough, considering Hermione actually does not have that much HP, so we're kind of in a dangerous position now. So we got to avoid taking a lot of damage. Whoa, I think we just jumped between its legs. Yes, we did. You'll probably never see a more badass maneuver than that, folks. You could just stop watching right now. But no, seriously, that was some pretty deft dodging. Deft dodging. We could hear it perfectly well. I really like that Fire Blast attack. Recently, I watched Blanket 11 play the Third Age, and oh god, they're shooting at me! No, we need to stand out of the way. And the Balrog fight in that game on GameCube is so graphically impressive. It's like I didn't believe that it was GameCube for a little while. It's just kind of remarkable the kinds of things that the GameCube's capable of. I thought of that because this is like, I was playing this earlier, and then I looked at the Balrog, and I'm like, wow, fire could be so much better rendered than it was in this game. So just keep holding Glacius on him. Eventually, it's gonna work. You just gotta hold it up and hope that he misses you, which he did, sealing our victory in his defeat. Completely overblown, like, explosion, which I appreciate. It's like Midway made this cutscene. Oh, Ron, we're so glad you survived. That look on his face. And don't come back, you loony. Hey, I've got an idea. Let's see Fred and George. We're just gonna build up the Ron quotes. I'm tired. I'm off to bed. Well, I think we've done all we can. Check your remember all, Harry. If you couldn't tell, he's kind of like my least favorite character in this game. Sad, because when I was a kid, I enjoyed him.
Well done. Harry, Ron, Hermione. An excellent performance. 50 house points for Gryffindor. That is all for today. Class dismissed. Harry?
Can you show me how you made the Dementor back off?
I don't pretend to be an expert at fighting Dementors, Harry, but I'll try and help. But not right now. I have a lot to do, and I chose a very inconvenient time to fall ill. I will get a message to you when I'm feeling better.
Come on, Harry. It's potions next.
You really sound happy to be seeing Snape next, Ron. Anyway, that's all for now. Until next time, mischief managed.